Yep.
All right. All right. Welcome to another exciting edition of Cambridge Inside Out. My name is Robert Winters.
I'm Fran Cronin from the school committee.
And I'm Susanna Segat. Welcome.
All right. All right. Now, let's see. We have to say you're a first-term member of the school committee.
Or sometimes known as the newbie.
The newbie. Well,
the
actually,
newbie.
you're not the only newbie, though,
No,
right?
Kathleen Kelly.
Kathleen Kelly too,
Yeah.
as well. Okay.
Newbie.
Now, this is the first time on our show.
Yes.
And it's actually very interesting because the school committee meets every other Tuesday night. However, they have been meeting nonstop since you've been inaugurated, pretty much. You've been working hard. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on.
Well, as soon as we were inaugurated, and thankfully the mayor was elected the day that they got seated for the city council, we were lucky, the outgoing school committee had deferred the budget until the new school committee got seated. So normally they start that in the fall, but because we had the new committee being seated, we started on that immediately in January. So every week, which was great, we needed to meet every week to really take a look at where the budget was. We were presented with a very detailed roster of initiatives in terms of what we needed to consider. We established goals and criteria for the budget, and then we tried to meld the two together in terms of initiatives to align them with some of the budget requirements and what we really need to do in our schools. So it was a very detailed, in-depth process that got us through, I guess, until April vacation.
Now, I'm really familiar with the way the budget process works for the city council on the city side. Is it similar with the school committee? And actually, you can both. You're Susanna being a former member
I
of
have
the
an
school committee.
old-time
See,
way of going.
you guys are the pros.
Probably know
on
more than I
this.
do.
Is it similar? In other words, is it the school superintendent sort of initiates a process internally within the schools and then comes to you with a budget?
It says,
And
pass
then you,
this.
and you say, yay, nay, up, down, or fight it out, or whatever?
Well, we're given a budget. We are told, the city manager gives us our budget,
All right.
Gives you an amount of money.
amount of money.
Right.
And then
Right.
you get to, then the superintendent gets to figure out how to parse out that money.
Exactly. And that's
And
where,
then you get to say, yes, no, maybe so.
yes. So that's where the dialogue at our meetings comes in, because the city manager determines the level of funding that the schools will receive in the upcoming year. The superintendent does receive from us guidelines and goals. And then we, as a school committee, then deliberated in terms of what initiatives we felt were most important to move that agenda forward.
Now, it's my understanding that the city manager gave the school committee a budget to play with that was 5% over last year's budget.
I think that's true, and we
So
always...
you had enough money
we-
to play with.
We did. We
There
did.
were no cuts.
But at the
Actually,
same...
let's give the number. It's
Yeah,
unless things change, it was 100. It's not small. This ain't
No.
pocket change.
No, it's not pocket change.
$156,669,635.
Yes, we sometimes round
What's
it
the
up.
$5 for?
You know, I don't know. You'll have to ask Claire Spinner. We sometimes round it up to 156.7. But but inclusive in that, with the 5%, is also cost of living increases. We have, over 80%, 82, 85% of our budget is towards salaries, benefits.
No, but people didn't get 5% increases.
No, they didn't.
Right.
No.
So you had money.
But everything does go up. But we also have to subtract programs. We had to do this balancing act of some things weren't as well funded as they had been the year before, and other things got more money. It's a trade-off.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
So before we actually get to the nitty-gritty of the workings of the school committee, now you are a seasoned politician.
Robert and I were just talking about that. Call it what you want. Yeah.
So
Okay.
you've been in office more than a year.
No.
Almost a year.
Absolutely not.
months.
It's only been 5 months?
5 months.
It felt
like a
Exactly,
year to
January
me.
6th. January 6th,
Oh,
yeah.
it's been a year to me.
Uh,
So you've been in office for 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
These are the heavy lifting months because of the budget.
Yes.
So how does it feel to be in office?
Well, it's definitely an honor. And I would say that I was surprised at actually how well prepared I was for the work that we needed to do. I did have a lot of experience. I have been advocating the schools. I was working on a number of issues. But certainly sitting at the table, being as intimate with issues as you are, it's different. And also you get to see what I think my biggest takeaway is really getting to appreciate how complex the school system is. There are so many moving and competing parts to the school system. In addition to just say our kids need to learn, we need to educate them, we need to manage our money, we have such diversity of our students, which you know, but what that means on a day-to-day basis, from grade to grade, from classroom to classroom, student to student, we have tremendous depth and variety of students and needs. And it's a puzzle. We're always juggling pieces to try and have them fit together, and how do we best support our principals to be the leaders that they need to be within each of our schools. We need to make sure that our principals can support our teachers so they can really teach our students, make sure our teachers have the skills that they need to best educate the students that we have in our schools. And we have the honor of educating in our schools.
And so the other part to being a politician is that you have to deal with the day-to-day work of the school committee. And then part of it, I think, is giving information out to the constituencies to let people know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So how's that working out?
It's dynamic. I have a newsletter, which I started while I was campaigning. And
Bright orange logo, right?
Exactly.
That's all I remember. I remember logos.
With my name, yes,
Yeah,
exactly. There you go. There's a bridge there.
I remember that.
Yeah, it wasn't very iconic. So I started that protocol when I was a candidate, where I sent out newsletters, and I did send one out. I'm due to send out another one, and I have a pretty deep list at this point of people that I do communicate with. I maintain an active Facebook page that I started when I was a candidate. I like to post there a lot, and I like to post there educational issues that are germane to some of the issues that we wrestle with here in Cambridge. So I post there. We do have a listserv, which I sometimes dive into to have a pretty...
Are you talking about for the whole school system?
Yes,
I've heard about this. They had some name people call it or something.
I don't know about that.
No, I think of an old
Well,
one.
the school committee has a listserv?
Our district families participate.
Oh,
Anyone who's a parent or family member within the school system. So we have a listserv, which can be robust. And there are issues.
You're being kind.
There are issues. It's robust. People. You're allowed to say what's going on.
Unmoderated list?
Yeah. No, there is a moderator, but
Okay.
basically, it's not going to be heavily censored. If you
Right.
have a
Yeah.
bone to pick with someone, an issue you really want to, get your teeth into, you
Yeah.
can. So we have lively discussions. I'm also chair of the curriculum subcommittee. And so I work closely with Dr. Jessica Heinziger, who's the new assistant superintendent for curriculum assessment and instruction. And a lot of that work is around communication, helping our community appreciate what it means to do a 5-year curriculum review. What does it mean to align our curriculum with Massachusetts standards, the Common Core? And so how does that influence what we do as a district in terms of curriculum that we develop for our students?
Now that's K all the way through 12?
It is.
Come
It is a
on.
K through 12. So we have been doing a very robust K through 5, 6 through 8 evaluation and review. We have a new math program in place, which started before I got on the committee, but it's rolling out now. It's been piloted in the schools called Math in Focus, which you might be familiar with, Robert.
Yeah.
You might know what
Well,
they're about.
I know what math is.
Hey, I know what math is.
When I always hear that there's terms for,
I think we'd all appreciate hearing your definition of math.
I could go on for days with that. No, it's like when I hear math in focus, it sounds almost like a package that's being adopted for how to do things. Crossing many grades, sometimes which is developed in conjunction with textbook makers and whatever. It's sort of, but as a classroom teacher, this is sort of not how, at a college level, this is not how we do it. We just sort of prepare our lectures and do our thing. We don't think about everything in terms of a kind of a grade to grade program like that. So I've never, when there've been other math curriculums that I've heard referenced over the years, and I never really get the nitty-gritty details of what they
Well,
are.
that's actually, you presented a very good comparison of what you do on a college level versus our job within within our school system. So, when you like math, think of the horizontal and vertical. So our
Wait,
education.
I have to take notes.
There you go. So you think about horizontal, which is across all grades. Vertically is how we get our kids from K to 12 and into college with the, let's say math, with the math skills that they need. So you have the horizontal, you have the vertical, and it's all around alignment. So each of our kids, and that's where skills and standards come into place. So you think about, what does a first grader need to learn or master to be able to succeed in second grade? What do they need to learn in second grade to master, to succeed in third grade, all the way up? So
Now, my recollection was that before they did some of the restructuring back 10 years ago or so, there was a lot of unevenness. In other words, when a kid you graduate, after sixth grade you go to the...
no, fifth. It's now fifth.
All right, but it used to go through eighth grade and then you went to the high school.
Correct.
But depending on which schools you went to when you were graduating eighth grade, there were really different standards across the schools.
Absolutely. And I would say that observation was a huge genesis behind the innovation agenda, because we had so many kids that were unevenly prepared for entering high school. And obviously, high school is critical for the next launch into your life that exceeds, our district education, and for college or career readiness. And so we had tremendous unevenness, disparity when you look at different, if you want to get wonky about it, but the different subgroups in terms of our minorities, our kids who are ELL, kids who have special
English
language learners. We've got a lot of kids who come here. In
Yeah.
fact, I just came from the Cambridge School Volunteers, and one of the examples that the student that they had present was someone who benefited so tremendously from the Cambridge School Volunteers because she's from Haiti and her English skills were not good. So in addition to the classes that she took in class, she got supplemental language support outside of class. She was very eloquent about how that helped her. So we have, I think, 60 different languages in our district or more, depending upon which resource you refer to. So when you think about, where was I going?
We were talking about communications in your subcommittee. So I want to talk about that a
Okay, let's
little
go
bit.
back to that, because I
And then
lost my
we were
track.
talking about math and interpreting
Right.
it from the
Right.
lower grades to the higher grades.
Right.
And then I want to veer off into foreign languages too.
Okay.
But you also mentioned this Cambridge School Volunteers, which is a great organization. Robert,
Right.
someday we should have them in here also.
I think it would be
They do a good
great
job.
thing.
Yeah. They just were giving
They're a
out
great
awards
resource.
today. 900 volunteers. Actually, Jeff Young the superintendent made a really great observation that there are more volunteers in CSV than the number of teachers we have in our district. And he was actually very eloquent talking about the one-on-one connection and how powerful that is. So, it was great. So anyway, we do need to align our curriculum to make sure that each of our students, to the best of our capacity, have the skills that they need to graduate into the next level of learning and can succeed at that level.
Let me ask you something, because one of the things I always do before these programs, I do a little homework and stuff. I was looking here. This is on one of the things we were talking about, the budget at March 18th. They made a reference that said, discussions that happened. It says, what is your take on the proposed restructure at the high school? Right? Now, is that part of some other additional realignment being
That's a
discussed?
little bit news to me, restructure at the high school.
Well, these are the minutes. I
The
don't know.
minutes,
They're
so-
not always a perfect reflection of what's said.
What is going on at the high school is that every 10 years, the high school does do a NEASC, New England Association of Schools.
Is this like an accreditation process?
It's an accreditation process. It happens every 10 years, and it began 2 years ago, I think.
With a self-study.
Self-study. They do a
Right.
self-evaluation, and there are standards that are prescribed by this organization. And it starts with a self-study, and then they come in and evaluate the school's performance based on those standards. So that report was developed and presented last year, and there are recommendations that came out. So there is a lot of self-reflection
Oh, anything
going on.
good?
Yeah, I think
What?
that there's
What are
a
some
lot.
of the issues?
Some of it's very consistent with what's going on in Cambridge about how do we best support our culturally diverse student body, because the achievement gap does not begin in the high school, though it's always talked about being in the high school, but it begins in other grades. So how do we best prepare our students, again, looking at the vertical, how do we align our school clusters to best support our students so they can be successful in the high school? We talked a lot about, what does it mean to be in a college prep class?
Do they use that? I didn't know they even use it.
They do use that
terminology
term.
in
They do use that term, and that's for kids who are not in honors. And it's particularly, I think, descriptive for incoming freshmen. They're in college prep, and it can be a track. And is that the way we want to have our kids go through? How do we really, I feel very strongly that education is about taking risks. That's how kids learn. They need to be able to take risks. And if you're prescribing a certain track for a student, are they going to be able to break out of that track
Right.
and move up to the next level and
think-
take chances?
Right. I suppose, though, it's a different conversation if you're talking about the elementary school grades versus high school grades, because by the time they're in high school grades, they're actually starting to make choices. So they're
Absolutely.
choosing their own tracks. And
Absolutely.
we sort of have to respect their choices, too. So.
You do, but also to try and advance our students as much as we can.
Yep.
And I think about our students who may not be going on to four-year schools. I think about our students who really need to go into vocational, get a good vocational education. We have a lot of English language learners in our high school. We have kids who are on, still have 504s, IEPs, and how do we make
Wait,
sure?
what's a 504?
That is an education
IEP
plan.
is Individualized Education Plan,
Yes,
right?
it is. It is. So 504. So an individual education plan means that you have difficulty accessing the content of that class.
Okay.
You need assistance. The 504 says you can access the content, but you need accommodations to help you be the best student that you can be.
Okay.
So there's a distinction. So we have a variety of learning, and we also talk about the block schedule, which has its pros and cons. And I think that's under discussion, under review. I don't think anybody's making any radical changes, but just really be able to understand and appreciate what that means for us in terms of how what we can provide our students with. And
So is this NEASC report public?
yes,
How do we get it?
it's online.
So it's under the school department webpage?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It is a public document.
All right.
So if you go to cambridgema.gov, you go under school department, and then under the school committee section, you will find the NEAS study, or around there.
Around there, I would say you have to go digging.
Well, we'll
Have to
we'll go digging
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. I should go dig
What,
into-
can't I just Google it? Wait.
You probably can. You probably can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And I just want to say, on
Yes.
that point,
Yeah.
that every single meeting that is held by the school committee is open to the public. Every single meeting.
Which is the law.
Which is a law. No, but I just want to
It's a good
remind.
thing.
It is a good. No, I want to talk about transparency. I just want to give a plug for transparency. So every single meeting is open to the public.
Except the negotiation of the contract.
Absolutely, and I wasn't there for that either. And then every meeting open to the public is videotaped or audio taped. That is also online.
Yep.
The documents.
online?
Yes.
The meetings are online?
Yes. Absolutely.
They don't always have the videos,
They may be lagging a
They're
week or
lagging,
two. Sometimes they
yeah,
lag
yeah.
like a session or two, but
Sure.
they are always there.
Yep.
Every single document that we present at a meeting is public and online.
Before the meeting?
Not always.
Not always.
But after the meeting,
But after the
definitely.
meeting, definitely. So, and if there's something that you need to know or want to know about, more than likely it is a public document. And if you go searching or ask someone, you can find it. Our math program is there. Our curriculum review is there. We have every single meeting. The budget documents are there. School enrollment is there. Anything that there's a lot of information to be had.
Actually, speaking of the math program, not that I want to obsess on it or not here, but allow me to obsess on it a little bit. I know, we're now we're 2 years into the so-called innovation agenda now.
Correct.
Just finishing up a second year.
Yes.
So they did a modification of some of the wording about the math curriculum.
Yes.
You know, nothing gigantic or anything, but a little more flexibility. Were there any other modifications you can just speak to with sort of how the innovation agenda was and the whole middle school program was originally laid out versus how it's going to be next year?
One big change, and this also has to do with the adoption of the Math in Focus, is the expectation now is that in 8th grade, our students will have achieved Algebra 1. They will have taken that, and before they get into the 9th grade, they will have already taken Algebra 1. Because we
Past Algebra 1.
Past Algebra 1, correct. Because we are going through a curriculum change, not all students are in the same place to be able to be ready to take Algebra 1 in 8th grade. So for our middle grade students, 6, 7, and 8, there is additional opportunities. There are summer programs and some different leveling of math for students to take to help students that do need extra time, extra instruction, to really help them develop the capacities that they can pass Algebra 1 in 8th grade. And moving forward, that is the expectation.
Now, you use the word expectation, so that's not the same as mandatory.
Mandate.
Right?
Well,
Because
and that
I've
is,
heard
and
people make a good case. They say, this may not be the right thing for everybody.
and it is given,
It's
that is the
advisable.
expectation.
Right.
You know, and I
And
think
what
that
if you don't meet it?
then you take math. There's 9th grade math in the high school with the expectation that you will do Algebra 1 in
Right.
9th grade. And I mean, I'd love to say we need to mandate, but
Yeah, how do you do that?
yeah, how do you do that? You know, and I think that helping students achieve to their capacity or really help them be the best
That's
student
the-
that they can be is
that's
a,
the
is a
thing.
great is a great job. If we can fulfill that expectation, I think that's a good job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I have so many other issues to talk about, but we only have a minute left in this session, so
Is that true? Ooh.
Well, we started a little
time
late.
flies
Time
here.
flies.
We have so much fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to ask you about enrollment numbers and what the trend is, and I do want to ask you about foreign languages.
Okay.
And just the teacher's contract has been ratified, I
Yes, it
believe.
has.
So just to give us some highlights of that, if you know. But that's in the next session because
To be continued. Okay.
Right. But just as a little bit of preview, I was reading some of the budget books in here, so there is actually a projected increase in enrollment. But I was a little confused about the percentages because it said a projected increase of 15.5%. I said that must just be for the kindergarten. I can't imagine a one-year increase of 15% enrollment in the school.
We have two big entry points now. We have the kindergarten, which continues to go up. We have almost 1,000
Right.
kindergarten enrollment, which is a lot. We do dip down for all sorts of reasons. We have attrition in the middle of the elementary school levels. The high school now also is trending up in
Yeah.
terms of enrollment.
All right.
So
we'll begin our second
those I think are
segment with
traditional
that.
dips. Those are
Okay. Anyway,
Okay.
see you in a minute.
Inside out.
thank you.